Hi, welcome back to our second episode of Let's Fight. I'm
So
Danielle Wood.
I'm Clayton Wood, and we will take you into our first big fight in our marriage.
Yes, and it was on our honeymoon.
We were
So,
in Banff, in Canada.
which really should have been our second fight because he wanted to surprise me about where we were going for our honeymoon. So I was thinking tropical and I had a lot of cute bathing suits and it was our day of our rehearsal dinner. He said, "Okay, we're going to Banff." And I don't think I've ever really heard of
And
Banff.
it's been about 2 decades of beach trips to make up for the fact that I took us on a mountain trip for our
It was
first one.
okay, and I will say we got married in August, which is hot and humid in the South, and so going to Canada actually was very refreshing and nice, but I was very ill prepared, and I had to buy a sweatshirt there and socks. I mean, I was like sandals and bikinis, and that was not really the vibe.
I wanted to be a surprise. Maybe it should have been communicated a little earlier. She, um, told me our communication didn't start great, and,
I'm
um,
being better than most.
her
We both are
communication.
good talkers. We talk a lot.
But if you have, this is always true, if you fear your spouse's reaction to something, you might only partly communicate what you're thinking or feeling. And so, what she was thinking and feeling is, "I do not wanna go on a hike
On our
during my
honeymoon,
honeymoon."
right. Also, there's an altitude situation.
Well,
Keep that in mind.
she was in good shape. She played basketball, great high school basketball player, but, hiking and backpacking, she had gone in Rwanda to
Yeah,
the
I can hike, but I was going to see gorillas,
what
which is
happened
way
was
cooler than
I had a background of doing a lot of backpacking kind of hiking, and we had a car rented, and so I talked to the concierge. I said, "Hey, I can't stand seeing other tourists when I'm out. I don't wanna do that. I would like to go on a romantic hike." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Like, maybe I don't see anybody the whole time, just me and my wife, that's it." And he was like, "Oh, man." He's like, "Yeah." He was like, what's your background?" I was like, "Oh, man, I haven't done, like, the whole AT, but, like, I like hiking a lot. I like backpacking." And he was like, "Oh gosh. Oh, yeah. Okay. This is my favorite hike. This is where I go." There wasn't a
Mhm.
guidebook. Again,
I didn't bring hiking boots,
this
obviously, because
isn't a
I wasn't
pre-smartphone era. I told her that I had a great plan the next day, we're gonna go on a hike. She said, "I don't have hiking boots."
right.
That meant that she didn't wanna go on the hike. I did not realize that, and I said,
It was a great valid excuse of like, actually, let's just
"I saved
not."
an incredible amount of money up to take us to Banff Springs Hotel."
Oh,
Very
it's
nice,
beautiful.
very
Yes.
incredible, a castle, basically,
Mhm.
and I bet that they cater to people who have problems. So I asked them, "Hey, my wife doesn't
Ill
have boots.
prepared.
Do you have women's 8.5 boots?" And they sure did.
Yeah.
They came up with them.
Lucky for me.
Great boots. And Danielle also is not a whiner. She's not a complainer, which is a great thing. She's not a grumbler. She is a person who tries to tough things out. So we went on a hike that
Started this
now I know a good bit about. Yeah, I would say maybe this impacted 10 years of our marriage in terms of her willingness to go on hikes and to
Oh,
trust
man, it's
me that I
really
would
great.
plan hikes she would enjoy. This
Oh,
on my birthday, we went on a hike. Did you enjoy the
yeah,
hike?
loved it. Yeah.
So she's getting around to some hikes, but we're maybe matching those a little bit more with our aptitude for hikes,
Montana hikes were not
our desire
as
for
great
hikes.
because it was
I still like hiking a little bit more than most of my family, and I don't mind climbing as much as my family, but this particular hike, looking back on it, it wasn't, the Bataan Death March, but it was, considered extremely strenuous, which is the hardest rating that they had for Banff National Park. What that mostly meant was elevation gain, already starting from elevation, and then a significant elevation gain, and it wasn't totally vertical, there were switchbacks, but it was just
Mhm.
up and up and up.
And, like, you're trying to talk to me and, be all cute, and I can't breathe. I just couldn't breathe. And I wanted to be, like, cute because I thought I'm in great shape. I couldn't the altitude, I just couldn't breathe. So I kept trying to talk to you, and it was very frustrating.
So our fight happened because I also knew that there was something kind of at the end to strive for. Like there was a glacial lake that was again remote enough that no one goes there because Yeah, it's a real hard place to get to, and she just sat down at a little corner and said, "Hey, you can keep going. I'm not going."
I was like, "Well, this is the end of my hike. You enjoy the rest of your hike."
And again, there wasn't a buildup, there wasn't a warning, there wasn't a lot of, like, sighing or, like, demonstrations that she was angry. So this was, like, to me, like, 0 to 100. It
But
was
I
just
wasn't
like
even that I just sat down. I was like, "Well, that's the
she
end."
didn't scream, she just said, "I'm not hiking anymore." It was like, well, we're not so we haven't accomplished the goal because the goal wasn't just to get out there and to get halfway up a mountain. The goal was
To get
to
eaten by bears.
the goal was to see this glacial lake. Very excited about it. And so we talked. Um, there was some like disappointment to me for sure, and it also felt like she didn't trust my vision or my leadership. But also, we hadn't even talked about what the real issue was, because also in her, it was like, wait, is he going to judge me a lot if he knows that like I can't really breathe right now and I'm not
Also,
hiking
I
well?
did say I was an outdoorsy person because I do love the outdoors, especially if the outdoors involve a beach.
We were getting to know each other still a good bit, and so yeah, huge fight.
Not a huge fight, just
Huge fight in terms of misalignment of
yes,
communication.
yes.
And the build up to it was that she was somewhat at 100, because it was like, if you are a smart person, you should have picked up on a lot of clues. But guys, here's an important thing to understand for marriage. It doesn't matter how smart your spouse is. They cannot read your mind.
Yeah,
They
true.
can't do it.
Yeah.
They cannot read your mind. And it's not fair to be upset with them that they didn't understand something you didn't say.
Right. It all could have been avoided had I said, I don't really feel like going on a hike."
I don't want to go on a hike.
Right.
I am
I don't like
positive.
hiking
I don't
vertically
remember
up a mountain.
exactly every part of that day, but as much as I love hiking, as much as I love glacial lakes, we were on our honeymoon. And if she had said, I would prefer to hang out around here and enjoy our honeymoon together, the things that we can do now that we've never been able to do before, I would have been very thrilled with our day.
Okay, but did we finish the hike?
We did,
Mhm.
and, it was a great end of our hike, and basically, I mean, once she was feeling better, I then went in from, "Come on, let's keep going,"
Mhm.
mode to, like, "Let me make sure I'm protecting
Like, let's
you.
take some breaks and
I'm"
breathe and
Yeah, "I'm protecting you. I'm not pushing you hard, like, that you can do this." And again, she wasn't injured. When she got her breath back, it was just a misalignment of our expectations, of our communication, of our desires. Um, I also it's a funny thing, she doesn't love crowds, but you're less bothered by, like, being in nature and seeing other people than I am. A part of that, I grew up next to the national park, but in the part of the national park that everyone from Ohio comes to for 3 months a year. So I love the outdoors, and to me, being in the outdoors with 88 other people looking at a waterfall is just not no, no, thank you. I'm not excited about it. So, yeah, it was a good beginning of a learning process for us with how to communicate to each other. Another hilarious part of that, another fight. We don't have to do 2 per episode, but I'll give a
okay. I mean, we have so many.
bonus fight from our honeymoon week is that we were out on, Lake
Oh,
Louise. Lake Louise,
that's
beautiful
always
lake.
my problems. I'm gonna have to come
You
with some
come tell
tips
all the
at
bad ones on
will.
me, that's fine. Lake Louise is a glacial lake, which just means, like, it's actually
Freezing.
melting
Yeah,
from the
but it's
glaciers.
beautiful and freezing.
Gorgeous color. It looks like the way that Disney dyes the water to look. This is actually
And
the way
I
God made this
really
in
don't
Canada.
like being cold, like, really
So we're out on this
don't.
canoe. It's cute, it's fun. I think it's kind of flirty. I'm in the back where I can steer the canoe and also be the one doing most of the paddling. Give a little splash. Just give a little, like, "Oh."
Freezing water.
Like, almost
But you're
like
fully
when you're in
clothed to
7th
the
grade or 8th
ocean.
grade, if you kinda like a girl, you kinda, like, pull on her hair a little bit,
It's
which I
not
realize is
getting married
ridiculous,
in 7th grade.
but it's a
Yeah,
ridiculous way of
yeah.
flirting, but it kind of, like, is a funny, like, little cute, kinda, like, just silly, like, "Hey, give me attention."
"Hey, I'm gonna put cold ice cubes
Danielle
down your
turned
neck."
around, and as if I was an out of control 4-year-old with her most stern command voice, she goes, I hate splashing.
I
And
don't sound like that, but,
uh
I don't
she did it. It became like a thing that we talked about and laughed about in our marriage because it wasn't even kind of unclear to me. Did I splash you again?
No.
I did not. It wasn't like, we talk about clear communication is very important. Clear communication is very important. She was very
I was
clear.
clear,
I
yes.
was done with the splashing. She hates splashing.
I still
I
hate
knew
splash.
that one important thing that we talk about too in marriage is to kind of try to understand, not every fight do you feel as passionate about it as the other person. Like that's a huge revelation. If you are just a miserable person, then you're going to act like everything matters to you. I can't lose. I can't lose a
Mhm.
fight.
Just pride.
That's pride. And it's often tied to, some serious problems
Or
for the
your
person.
identity is wrapped up in being right and
If your identity is around the ridiculous delusion that you can't be wrong, you're going to have a really hard time biblically approaching conflict because you
having any friends
you
or
ha-
anything.
you have to
Not just
own your mistakes and you have to say you're sorry and you have to confess your sins. So this is just an important thing to note within the context of that fight. Her communication was clear. She didn't curse at me. She didn't
Mhm.
she didn't even really scream. She just said, "I hate splashing," in a way that was like, "What voice is this?" Could have scared some of the bears maybe if they had attacked. So,
Just wait, your time is
I
coming.
I
She's
I
so fun. She hates hiking and she hates
no,
splashing.
she does hate splashing for sure. But what I'm saying is I actually think that that
She's
was a
so cool and
helpful it
chill.
was a way it was a helpful communication because I knew, like, splashing's off the table, right? It wasn't like, "Oh, I prefer not to be splashed." It was like, "Don't ever splash me again," and I didn't. And the reason I'm saying that is we heard this tool. We did not invent this tool, but use it. It's a great one. This could be clipped if either of us knew how to
No,
clip things for
I'm not
TikTok.
gonna do that.
Okay, if you're having a fight with your spouse, you can say to them in the fight, in the midst of the fight, "Hey, scale 1 to 10, this is about a 4 for me. Where is this for you? Scale 1 to 10, this is a 7 for me." Okay. If one of you seems kind of clear, kind of obvious, if for one of you a fight is a 7 or an 8 and the other person it's a 2 or a 3, let it go, man. Like,
Mhm.
just drop it. Like, who cares? It's not a big deal. Give up. If for both of you, the fight is like an 8 or above, one is like, I don't really care. And 10 is like, this is a hill that I will die on. If you're at an 8 or above, 8, 9, 10 for both of you, it's a really good idea to have somebody else that you can kind of call in. And that can be an elder, it can be a trusted friend, it can be, it should not be. We can go into that later,
Your
all the
parents.
reasons. It shouldn't be your parents and
Yeah,
it shouldn't be your spouse's parents. Terrible idea.
not a
Our parents are both marriage counselors. We love
and
them.
my mom even told me, "Listen, if you get in a fight with your husband, you're gonna need to find someone else to bring that to because you'll forgive him and move on and I won't."
You don't want to bring your parents into
No.
it. But again, for these kind of conflicts, it's important to have people that you trust who have the kind of marriage that you want to have, who have godly, wise counsel, and say, "Hey, we are at an impasse. This is a pretty big one, and we want to bring in some other folks to get their perspective on what we're dealing with."
Which is another reason you don't fight after 11 because you can't bring in people. If it's
If
midnight,
it's
you're
too
not
late
gonna
to call someone,
you
stop
shouldn't be
fighting and
fighting.
go to
Yeah,
sleep.
exactly.
Yeah. So it also, honestly, sometimes talking to someone else about what you're fighting over can be really clarifying for one or both of you.
Mhm.
Like, okay, the way she's just folding these socks, it's absurdly wrong.
Mhm.
And while you're saying it, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. Like, why is this? Oh no, excuse me. I think that we solved the problem. Thank you.
We actually haven't had that fight, so
We've
that's
never had that
good.
fight. Fight's a low stakes thing to bring up.
I know, but you wouldn't be at an 8. You wouldn't both be at an 8 for socks.
Could you be an 8? That I still think is stupid when you have to tell somebody. You be an 8 of how you feel about
Or
certain traditions.
a household, like, responsibilities. You
Chores,
could be yeah,
absolutely.
like, "I don't think you
I
respect
will not
me."
touch the
Yeah, like,
trash.
"Well, you didn't respect me because I took my time to do this, and then you
Yeah,
disregarded, laundry or
yeah,
whatever." Yeah,
yeah,
I could see that. Which
absolutely.
does sound really frivolous when you think you need to bring in outside counsel about your laundry, but
when two people are talking about something like that and it's gotten to that level, it is not about that one fight. I say a lot the example of the trash compactor, which sadly technologically is going away as an example. Such a good marriage counseling example. But raise your hand if you still have a trash
I'm like,
compactor.
actually, this is only gonna
Almost
be a
almost
few people
nobody.
who are older.
Guys, there used to be this thing called a trash compactor. And the way that a trash compactor works is it's actually in Star Wars, if you've seen those films. Trash compactors have walls that come together and crush the trash to make it smaller, compact, and then you can remove it and get rid of it more easily. Um, I used to use this as an example a lot. I don't as much anymore because people don't know what it is. But if you keep a trash compactor and you just run it over and over again and keep adding trash, eventually it won't take any more trash and it'll just go and shoot the top trash out because it doesn't have anywhere else to go. I see people who do that sometimes.
Mhm.
So it's like the wife has picked up the husband's socks. She doesn't make a big deal out of that. She's not crazy, but she's now picked up his socks for the 137th time. And she has told him 46 times, I would really appreciate it if you picked up your socks. Hey, I'm not your mom. I'm your wife. I would like you to pick up your socks. Hey, I need you to help more. Please pick up your socks. And so by the time that they're ready to make the call,
Mhm.
it's not about he left his socks on the floor. It's about I feel unheard. I feel
Mhm.
disrespected. I feel uncared for. I feel devalued because I'm being treated like a maid instead of like a wife. If you're listening and you're like, yes, please, what's the answer? Well, okay.
Yeah.
We're not going into all of the solutions on that as much as to say that one thing that somebody gets
Mhm.
volcanically angry about, if it seems like a small thing, it's because they're not really angry about that thing. They're angry about the larger pattern.
Okay, so our main topic today is rebellion. Yay! I feel like so much comes down just to the original sin, which is rebellion in our hearts.
Mhm.
And this has been making a lot of articles and things lately,
Oh, yeah.
and it's a big issue going on. So I think biblically, again, if you aren't a Christian and you don't read the Bible, then this really isn't going to apply to you. But you should still listen. It's great.
Okay, so we can read the verse.
Well, first, just start. Okay, I think this is helpful. Right now, there's a lot in roles and identity, and having the starting point that we have equal worth, that God made us in His image,
Mhm,
but we're not the same. I
mhm,
do not want to be a man,
mhm. Thank
and
you.
likewise, you do not want to be a woman.
No, no,
And they're
thank
not
you.
the same. Like, not just like biology, we're not the same, but also we're not made to be the same.
Right.
We don't have the same roles. It doesn't mean one is lesser than, it's just a difference, and it's how God designed it. And you don't get to just pick and choose parts of the Bible that you like and you don't like. And if something is hard to accept, you need to search and seek and ask, why is this hard? Why am I fighting up against this? And it boils back down to rebellion.
Mhm.
Keeps going back because that's where we're starting from. That's our original
I think
journey.
I think that there's also people, I mean, in terms of us doing a podcast and us talking about this, I love the book, The Meaning of Marriage by Tim Keller. I think it's a
Mhm.
great book. Um, in his example, he talks about the fact that he is more of like a submissive or quiet or delegating kind of person, whereas his wife is more dominant and strong.
Yeah.
That is not our case, and that's not our marriage.
Yeah, but even it doesn't really matter. Even if your personality, like I am headstrong,
No,
you can
no,
be
so sorry.
stubborn.
That's what I was saying though is in their case, they had to fight against role both ways. His
Yeah.
wife's dominant. She's not supposed to be dominating him. He's more like lackadaisical in some areas, and he has to step up to lead.
Yeah.
For us, it's a marriage of just two leaders, like two strong personality leaders. And
It frustrates me when people act like, "Oh, I'm glad that works for you, that you're submissive to your husband. I'm not because I have a strong personality.
right.
I have these giftings and I have these things and my husband doesn't." It's like, "Nope, that's not an option that you get to have to say, 'Oh, I can excuse this.'" You're in submission to your husband because God says that in his word.
And they like, no one can use their personality profile, their Enneagram type or whatever to say, "Oh, yeah, yeah, that part of the Bible doesn't really apply to me because I'm
Mhm.
a 3 wing 4," or
I
however.
can't go, like, be an evangelist because I am shy.
Right.
I don't like people. I'm more of an introvert. It's like, no, that's not an option.
You can understand yourself maybe better through some of those tools, but they can never give you an excuse to sin.
Right.
In our case, Danielle is very dominant. She's very intelligent. She has high emotional intelligence. And I found early in our relationship, before we were married, before we were engaged, that she was used to being in charge of her romantic relationships.
I mean, I'm a good leader.
She's so good looking and so smart that guys were like, whatever you think. What do you think? What do you wanna do? And early on, I mean, it came up in the context of her trying to, uh like, she's used to playing chess when other people maybe were playing checkers, so she would try to lead me down the primrose path to be like, "Didn't you wanna? Didn't you wanna?" And I was like, What are you no, you're trying to manipulate me right now."
You're like, "We're not playing these games because you saw right through it, which speaks to you, and also you have high EQ.
It was a little bit funny. She was a little bit annoyed, but she was also eventually really happy because she hadn't ever felt as understood as someone to see her and go, "Oh, you're trying to do this because this is what you wanted, and this is where." And ultimately, um, when it comes to, I mean, that's a whole episode probably. We could do an entire episode in the real time that we try to decide where you wanna eat,
Oh, great.
but
Again, it's about me being
oh,
oh,
bring up mine,
oh,
bring up mine. I didn't I that was something where I wasn't doing a great job of understanding you, but in terms of leadership, basically, um, you really struggled to accept my leadership because you wanted to be the leader, and now today, it's super easy and you never wanna be the leader. Is that accurate?
Wait, are you serious?
It's look, here's the thing, read the
Yeah.
the verse, but what we're talking
Okay.
about is the fact that this is a result of the fall,
Yeah.
and it doesn't go away. Your trust level can go up, your roles and
Yeah.
expectations can get better. All of that can get way better. You still have a desire that are these desires are opposed to each
Mhm.
other, and the desire often we can and we should talk about, men's failure to lead,
Yeah.
which, by the way, a man's failure to lead in a way that is sacrificially designed to love his wife as Christ loved the church is a form of rebellion.
Yeah, exactly. It all goes back to you don't believe that God knows what's best for you and has ordained these relationships in this structure.
Mhm.
And so you think you know better than God, and that's a really scary place to be. So the first thing I want to point out though is just that earlier in Genesis, I'm gonna get canceled because I'm teaching from
Mm.
the Bible.
Uh, this
The
isn't a sermon. Here, let me
okay,
let me give you
the
a head covering.
oh, no. Okay, so the first thing was that when God created Eve for Adam as a helper, that was before the fall. So that was a good, healthy dynamic that I was created for you as a helper, not like, "Oh, she's less than, she's just here to serve you." But, like, we both were created in God's image, that's all clear. So that part was the original design plan, which is great. And then you get to the curse, so we're in Genesis 3, verse 16, says, "Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you."
So, if the word desire there was like, "You're always gonna want your husband," um, man, we wouldn't have a podcast
No,
like this.
no marriage
Things
fights
would be
ever.
easy. That word desire is a rebellious desire to control the one who is put over you. All that from a single word? Yes. And I am not a Hebrew scholar or an ancient Semitic languages scholar, but that's what that word means. The word desire there means a desire to rule the one who is put over you.
Mhm.
And that is absolutely central to tons of conflict that we see regularly. And it doesn't have to be a lot more complicated than that. Also, before you get on there for your attack of whatever, did God really say? Is the first
Mhm.
lie from Satan. It's not a clarifying question. It's designed to cause confusion because, yes, God did say that. He
Mhm.
did teach that explicitly. It's in Genesis 3. And people have used and abused that to be horrible to women. Chaucer in the Canterbury Tales, you might be feeling stressed like you have a paper coming up at a midterm if you took that class in college. But Chaucer in the Canterbury Tales has this long tale that the crux of the tale is this guy is going to only win the prize if he can tell, and it's very important to his life to tell this woman, this ruler, what her biggest desire is. What do women want? Figure it out. What do women want?
Mhm.
He travels and learns and seeks. And he comes back and says, to rule. And she says, you win. You got it. You got it. So again, this is not a new concept. It's not
Mhm.
a poorly understood concept. It is part and parcel of the curse that women want to rule over men. Interestingly, well, really, Clayton, godly, wise people have no rule at all. It's just co-leading. Everyone takes turns and no one's really the leader. Because you don't take turns flying a plane. You don't take turns driving the car. Well, on a long road trip, we actually do. At the same time, should we go left or right? My wife and I are co-driving right now. We like to co-drive. No, we haven't killed our children in a horrible car wreck because we were co-driving. The truth is, people are uncomfortable being honest about the fact that somebody's leading in everything. We believe biblically that there are spheres of authority, and Danielle's an incredible leader. And I'm excited to watch her lead, and she leads very well in many areas. So it is not the case that women can't lead biblically. There's a gazillion examples in the Bible of women leading well. What is the case is that within the context of marriage, and a result of the fall and sin
Mhm.
is that you will desire in a way that is oppositional to fight the order of authority that God created when he said in Genesis 3:16,
Mhm.
you will desire your husband and he will rule over you.
Yeah. And I think it's also helpful in that same sphere, you are under God. It's not like, oh, the husband is just the top of the chain here. No one's above him. No, God.
Right.
So you are living in submission to God and his authority and his leadership.
Mhm.
And then you, from that, you lead well.
It's really terrible teaching and just a gap. But in the evangelical circles where I do see abusive patriarchy or chauvinism or just kind of idiocy, get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich, woman. That group doesn't ever talk about male submission. It's like totally missing from the
Mhm.
conversation. Muslims talk a lot about submission. Biblically, I'm called to submit,
Mhm.
and biblically, you're called to submit.
Yes.
And we are called to both submit to one another in Christ, but it doesn't change hierarchical rules. It is a constant reminder
Mhm.
that although we have different roles, I'm called to be living my entire life in submission to God and in submission to his authority. And there's not ever a time biblically where you can go, well, I'm the husband, I'm the man. You have to do this sinful thing that I'm telling you to do. No. The doctrine of the lesser magistrate, we saw people didn't understand that at all during COVID. But what it says is that you do not obey an authority that is not in obedience to God. If a judge in your country, if a king says you're not allowed to pray, if somebody says you must worship this idol, the biblical response is to say, no, I'm not doing that. I refuse to do that. I will not obey you. I must obey God rather than man. Well, goodness gracious, within the context of marriage, you must obey God rather than man if you're being asked to do something sinful. Is making a sandwich sinful? No. The truth is that what we see often in disordered relationships is rebellion at every single level.
Mhm.
You have parents and they're like, "I don't know why my kids just don't mind. They're just not good. They're terrible kids. They don't listen to
Who are
us."
you listening to? Your examples are very East
Well,
Tennessee, I think. I don't
I
know,
could give
but
other accents if you
give
want.
me a
I'm
different accent.
trying
This
to
is
be a
like
little safe with my accents here. Uh,
I'm not listening to people talking like that the way that you're talking.
okay. You see often kids are not obeying.
Yes.
The wife does not submit to her husband, and the husband does not submit to God.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, who's wrong here?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. So if you want to see ordered flourishing, everyone's in their role as God designed it, and people are walking in submission and obedience. I talk a lot. I love this two-word phrase, joyful obedience. But joyful obedience is not the same thing as grudging obedience. Joyful obedience to God is awesome. And it's realizing his plan for you, his plan for your life is good, pleasing, and perfect. It's better than your plan for your life. It is richer and deeper and sweeter. And in the context of marriage, wow, when both of you realize that you have to mortify your flesh, that you have to put to death the misdeeds of the body, that you have to kill sin in you. And as a husband, you realize you're supposed to love your wife as Christ loved the church, giving yourself up for her. And she realizes that she is called to submit to you, and that that's not because you always know the right thing. It's not because you're smarter than her, better than her. It's because of a role that God gave her that's a way for her to be sanctified through doing something that's really hard. You see the fruit in your own marriage, but you also see the fruit in the lives of your kids, every step of it.
And I think maybe for the next episode, we can go into this in more detail, but that often goes against your feelings.
Absolutely.
And I feel like what you were just saying, it's not like I'm like, "Oh, I can't wait to submit to you." By doing it, it is an act of obedience
Yeah.
to God, and my feelings can often mislead me because my feelings can be sinful and based on just selfishness and selfish desires, and so I think that we do need to go into more about feelings and about, that they're indicators and not dictators. You don't have to obey them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
We're called to be therm stats, not thermometers. And thermostats, I mean, we're supposed to be, because of the power of the Spirit, we're supposed to be demonstrating again a spirit filled life love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self control. Those things don't
Faithfulness.
happen. Do I leave faithfulness out all the time?
You do.
Yeah.
I just
The
insert it
song,
in
the
there.
song ended for me a little early. Um, you
Not
have
a good way to
yeah,
forget.
faithfulness
Do
is
you want
important.
to
It's
die?
important. Faithfulness is important. Uh, those things are not naturally things that bubble up in us. They come through submission to the will of God. They come from the daily taking up of our cross and following Him. And when they come, the telling ourselves the truth, reminding ourselves of the truth, setting our minds on things above, it over time means that our feelings can follow our thoughts, but it's a lagging indicator. I often have to do the right thing when I do not feel like it. And in fact, understanding my flesh over time and sanctification, sometimes it's an exact picture of God calling me to something when I know that I'm like, ugh, what? I have to do that? Yeah, go do that. Go do that thing that you feel is hard, that you feel is frustrating, that you feel isn't fair. In a conflict with your spouse, I mean, maybe we're early now because we'd have to repeat this one later, but another piece of advice,
Oh, great.
memorize 1 Corinthians 13.
Mm.
Memorize it. It's a whole chapter of the Bible. You can memorize it. I don't know what your particular thing you memorize is. Sports statistics don't matter. 1 Corinthians 13. We do in pre-marriage counseling with people for this reason. When you are in conflict with your spouse and the Holy Spirit says, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self seeking. It is not easily
Easily
angered.
angered.
Love
Keeps
keeps
no
no
record
record
of
of
wrong.
wrongs.
That's
Ah,
a convicting one. That's a good one.
it hits really
Mhm.
hard. and it makes you, in the midst of big feelings, reach for big truth instead, and it's a rescue. It really is a rescue, to have things like that memorized where the Holy Spirit can just bring them to mind and
Mhm.
redirect you, from a path that leads to anger and saying things you don't mean, or sadly, saying things you do mean because you're a wicked person, into a much healthier way of communicating.
Okay, well, thanks for listening. We'll be back again.